Basically, have to start over.
See, LJ, I'm not sure you guys are talking. I can't hear a thing. It seems like it's happening like it did last time that at first I could hear you, but now I hear this.
We weren't anything. You didn't miss anything. Can you hear us right now?
Yeah,
And
okay,
You didn't, nothing was going on.
okay. I just hear these garbles in between. Sounds like someone's trying to get their breath.
Levi? You feeling okay there?
Right, and stop breathing.
Confirm that we are live streaming. Oh, that's right, okay. Hello. They're gonna do that the whole entire time. I was wondering where that extra sound is coming from. Perhaps. I don't know.
So we have discovered that apparently there appears to be issues with this computer and Paul's computer died today as well. And they're the two computers that we got from Grand Junction Computers. And so I don't know.
We're waiting
Be
to hear
talking, yeah.
back what they're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently the TV is loud. I don't know what to do. I might have to Google it. Hoping it won't be like that the whole entire time. There you go.
The TV is loud.
No, it keeps turning off and on.
Okay.
I don't know if I
But it
need
should
to
be
say.
connected to the computer. Maybe that's. Anyway,
Okay.
Still working out the bugs.
Okay, so we're ready to go? All right. So I will call this meeting of the Solid Waste Special Service District #1 to be business as Canyonlands Solid Waste Authority to order this February 15th, 2023 at 4:06 p.m. Physically present is myself, Kaylin Jones at the anchor location, and we have Diane and Chad remote, as well as district staff in the room, Mike, LJ, Savannah, Scott, and Levi. First item of business is citizens input. Is there anyone in the waiting room?
Nope.
Okay, there's no one here, so no citizens to be heard. Any email or written communications? Okay. Next up is an action item, review and approval of expenditures for the month of December 2022. Do you want to present anything before or make any comments before there's a motion?
I just wanted to go over the highlights of the December expenditures. So, December is a long month and there are 3 different pay periods. So, because of the pay periods and the bonus, we had definitely a large payroll for the month. 293,644.20. That's definitely larger than most months, but pretty, I mean, usually July and December are the big months because those are the ones with 3 pay periods in them. Fuel, we had 3 invoices of delivered fuel. That was 71,882.98 cents. And then fleet fuel is 4,827.67 cents. Again, 3 different separate invoices. We had 2 PHP, which is our health insurance invoices, because they changed their billing period. So we had to pay their invoices twice in December as well. Not pay the invoices twice, but 2 invoices for December. So that was a total of 70,935. So those were our big, huge expenditures for December.
So if you have any questions, please ask them. Otherwise, the floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the expenditures for December 2022 to the tune of $476,292.93 as reported in the budget, the packet.
Thank you, Diane. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Great. Second by Chad. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Diane?
Yes.
Diane, use your hand. Chad?
Yes.
Kalen, yes, motion passes 3-0. Review and approval of expenditures for the month of January 2023.
Okay, so the big ones to note in January, we paid an invoice to AMCS, the software. We have been working with them. We're moving forward. We are on schedule still for at hopefully April, not exactly April 1st, because we'll have billing April 1st, but the first part of April to be actually live with the software. We're going to start doing some test modes. I'm going to have Jessica in on part of those as well, so that we have more people aware to do those. But so this was an invoice for them, and for $3,500, we will be taking that money out of the bond fund when I do a reimbursement requisition. So that'll be one of the items, as well as I haven't taken it for the chairs, and there's a couple of other things that we need to add to that reimbursement. And then again, fuel. So for delivered fuel, we had $24,403.20. And then fleet fuel was $2,348.49. And then we finally got the invoice from Viola for the fall household hazardous waste event, and that was $12,370.18. And those were our highest expenses for the month of January.
Thanks. Questions or a motion?
I have a question, LJ, for the PTIF entry down there.
Mhm.
It references December 2023. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, it's December 2022. It should be.
Okay, so there needs to be a correction.
Yeah.
With that said, I'll make a motion that we approve the expenditures for January 2023 to the tune of $404,185.43 as was submitted in the packet.
Thank you, Diane. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that one too.
Oh, thank you, Chad. That was a suspenseful pause. I'll call for the vote. Diane?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Kalen, yes, motion passes 3-0. Discussion of presentation to the city of Moab for a request to increase rates within the city limits.
So we were at the meeting last night. Do you want to talk about how the meeting went? I thought it went really well, but.
I thought it went really well too. I really did. Wasn't sure what to expect. I think the council seems to get where we're coming from, our reasoning. I don't foresee any problems. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I definitely had a positive vibe overall.
And so the items in the packet were the PowerPoint presentation that we presented to the council last night, along with supporting documents that were given to the council members. I did talk or email with Ben and Carly briefly, and he texted me that we will be working together to get some more items to answer some of the questions that the council members had, so that they can have enough information to make the vote at the end of the month on the 28th.
So just to be clear for everyone, they did vote to table it so that staff would have time to go over the information that LJ's been working so hard on and have a formal recommendation to the council. Tabling on the surface, you sound like, whoa, why? I think they just needed a little more time, and I hope everything will move along on the 28th.
And so just bear in mind that packet prep is gonna be getting wrapped up, like Wednesday, Thursday next week.
Mhm.
So you only have
Yep,
not very much time
no, I know.
for the back and forth.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
been busy already today.
I've already enlisted Jessica to help me with some items and told her the deadline that I need that information from. And I
Okay,
mentioned in my email to Ben and Carly the latest that I would get the information to them, which would be the 22nd or 23rd.
great then. Any questions, Diane or Chad?
No,
Okay. Thank you, LJ and Mike, for that. I thought it went well too. Update on rate study by EFG Consulting.
So, unfortunately, before we did this presentation to the city, right before I was supposed to submit everything for this last meeting, they told me that they could not complete the rate study in time, even though they had said before that they could, and that it would take an additional 2 months to complete all the information that they wanted to gather. So in thinking that, because we didn't really want to put off trying to do this rate increase, we have talked with them, Mike and I have talked with them about adding a few things, making it more complete and working towards the 2024 change in the city contract, as well as our own evaluation of rates, and to have a more complete and more comprehensive rate study rather than just pushing it through. And so we are on board with that so far. I haven't heard anything else from them other than the conversation to confirm that yesterday with them. So
Okay.
that's kind of where we're at.
And so are those items for the city? Have you told them what those are, or are those still getting fleshed out?
The items for the city or for, well, it's
Well,
kind of a mute point now, because it's originally it was for this rate
Mhm.
study, for this rate fee increase. So yes, they had all that information prior of what the city was requesting.
Mhm.
So
And so, as I understand, a part of this rate study is looking at what the future capital expenses of the
Yes.
district are, and so that we're not just keeping up with our expenses on an annual basis, but
Right.
really planning for the future.
future planning is definitely part of that. Mhm.
So is that information complete, or is that still being developed?
That is still being developed.
I dare say it's in its infancy. At more of a starting point at this point, definitely.
Okay, and so if the rate study is going to account for that and it's in its infancy, does that also mean that the district has some more homework to do to make the rate study as
Yes.
good as it can be at
Yes.
this time?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay,
I kind of envision it evolving. You've got the short version and the long version. And this initially it's going to be the short version, but it's all part of one big project, so to speak.
Mhm.
But yeah, we've got homework to do.
So meaning that the short version is what they'll go with for this rate study, and then
Yes,
and that'll be good enough, and then
I hate to use that term, but yes, in reality, yes.
well, that's the way lots of things are.
Yes.
I mean, you can either have it be perfect or you can get it done. A lot of the times.
And we're trying to do both.
Yes, sir. Okay. Diane and Chad, do you have questions?
Yeah, so last time I was telling people that I'm gonna be working with the public preceding the cleanup out here in Castle Valley, and we're doing a couple workshops, and I'm gonna be at a loss to tell the public where we are with the glass and the single stream. And so I'm just asking Mike and LJ, is there something that will be forthcoming? Is there a path forward in this study, this plan that we're presenting to the city that does envelop cleaning up the single stream?
As we briefly talked about last time, the glass is a contractual issue, and that means renegotiation as opposed to the rate increase, which is there's wording built into that it can be done. So while they go together, they are two separate items. And the more I learn, and just in the last few days, I realized we've been dealing with this issue longer than I realized. We're talking 2 years. It's just kind of been hanging there, and it doesn't seem like it's gone one way or the other. I've been diving into being able to actually do a cost analysis. It's definitely still in a draft stage, and people have told me different things about we can do this, we can't do that. I'm trying to go to the sources, and if not get something in writing, at least hear it directly from that facility. I've got a call next week with another facility up in Salt Lake City to see what they can really do and what they can't do. So I'm still in the fact gathering stage. So to say we have a major update, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's not a major update at this point. I see that being a big part of the discussion in next year's hopefully renewal of the contract. It's just difficult, and like I said, evidently it's been on the table for 2 years, and I'm going to try and push it forward, but there are no quick answers. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I'm just being honest.
Well, I hear Mike, thank you. I hear that it's possible that it won't take place until the new contract. And so seems odd to me that the city and the solid waste district are both in agreement that we have a problem here. We need to remedy it, and it seems as if it might not be, it might be separate and different from the rates. But I don't understand why it can't just happen. I don't understand that. And when you get that answer, I want it. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, if I'd had, that was pretty much exactly what I was thinking 2.5 weeks ago. What's the holdup? Why aren't we doing this? But anytime you open up a contract, that gets complicated and drawn out. And with the fact, hello, Kevin. And with the fact that we're, this close to the new contract, it kind of goes hand in hand. Let's address that at the same time. I'm not saying it's gonna necessarily take that long, but I would honestly say there's a very strong possibility. Once again, being honest.
Well, in actuality, if I may add to that, I've already been told by Carly and Ben that the whole contract negotiation is a long drawn out process, because they're going to get their lawyers looking at the contract. We need to get our lawyers looking at the contract. There's going to be several revisions. It's easily a 4 to 6 month process, and we will need to start that no later than June of this year. No later. We should probably start it sooner. So after we get the fee rate thing done, then we can start looking at maybe starting the negotiations of the contract. So
It's just anytime you have two taxing bodies with an agreement, a contract, and the lawyers get involved, no offense to anyone, it's going to take longer than anyone realized or hoped. Why it hasn't started earlier, I can't really answer that question. I'm just moving forward.
Does anyone understand it? It'll be another $17,000 study to have this happen? Justify this?
I don't think we've had the $17,000 study yet, have we? I think that's coming up sometime soon.
We're in the middle of it.
In the middle of it. Oh, good. Okay, good.
but it will cost us some lawyer fees. So we will have those costs as well as this rate study fee that, or the rate study that we're working on that is going to help us with future planning as well as the contract. So
That unfortunately, and once again, reality, there's gonna be more of those type expenses as we look long-term. And I would like to look longer than, next year. I'm talking 5-10 years. And try to come up with a plan, and stick to it as best we can. But that also includes where is the financing coming from, which is a longer discussion than anyone possibly wants to admit.
The other thing, I pulled out an article in the Sun News. It was November of 2021, and it was when Evan wasn't comfortable with not being transparent with the community about the glass situation at the MRF in, I think it was Salt Lake City at the time. And, it kind of laid out for the public, but honest to God, I would welcome something like that for myself as to, Mike, when you get your research done as to where are we with all this stuff. And then, I don't have to feel so terrible when I'm out there talking to the public, because then it's public information. And, I don't even feel comfortable giving out public information like that. Most times I'm lost in these meetings. And so, I would ask you to consider a really well thought out media message to the public about this stuff if we're going to wait another year plus.
I think I might have saw that same article yesterday. Something got me on that path, and I started seeing news articles pop up, and I'm like, wow. And that's when a light bulb went off. We've been dealing with this a lot longer than I imagined.
Yeah, well, good. It's a good it's a good thing to see, to follow for a future one, perhaps. It was just basically, once you figure it out, to be able to then, convey it to the public would be really great.
And like I mentioned earlier, I've got a rough draft of a cost analysis. How much more would it really cost us to make sure that the glass gets recycled? That's just a reality. I think everyone involved wants to recycle as much as possible. But reality kicks in. How much do we really want to spend to accomplish that? In a perfect world, we'd have unlimited funds, but we're far from a perfect world. So I am trying to get up a working document to make sure everyone, the board, the staff, everyone realizes the true costs involved. We can go here for X and we can go there for XX. What do we want to do? So I would hope to have more of a finalized version by next month. How's that?
Sounds good. Any other questions on the board? All right. Next up is staff reports. Mike.
I'm still in my infancy here. I don't have much of a formal report. I'm still getting to know the staff. I'm coming in fairly early every day just to learn the drivers, what they're doing, what trucks they drive, their backgrounds, their knowledge, anything that I can learn from them. Getting to know management more. Chris will be back Friday, I believe. So that opens up some new doors. Want to make sure we're not doing duplicate work and everybody get on the same page. We've been having weekly staff meetings. Trying to be proactive and get things done while still learning at the same time. A lot of the things we've discussed, other people were going to be bringing up. I've been fully involved and trying to nudge everybody along. My reports will get more formal as I gain more knowledge.
Any questions for Mike? All right, LJ.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention is that I am still, it's on the back burner right now, but once we get this whole rate study and presentation with the city completed, then my next project is making sure that we have budgets for the different facilities. Mike and I have talked about that a lot. We really feel that it's going to help staff understand how much they can spend and where they need to cut corners and things like that. So that's a big priority to me, to get that finished, as well as making sure that the landfill and the transfer station have complete lists of all the customers that have charge accounts. One of the advantages to the software is that we are also going to consolidate the landfills and the collections into one billing software, which is going to help a lot, and help us get those kind of lists easier to our staff, so that there's not questions about, oh, does this person have a charge account or not? So just really moving forward more with the software. I'm super excited and can't wait for it to be in place.
LJ mentioned the individual budgets to the different divisions, departments, whatever you want to call them. That was one thing that she brought up early in our discussion. She wanted the managers to take control, have a better understanding of how much they were spending and how much was budgeted. But it turns out that was something they were asking for as well. I did a informal survey, I guess you'd say, and had everybody give me your top 3 needs for your department and for the district as a whole. Some people might say that that's basic and that you should have it, and I'd have to say, yeah, you're right. But we're headed that way. They want to know it. It'll just, everybody will have the same information and be working off the same page. And the new software is going to help a lot with that.
And will that include also, I mean, I realize they're focusing on what their annual expenses are going to be, but for the board, I think, and maybe I presume for you, it's helpful to know what the revenues are for the different facilities as well, so that the fees are adjusted to cover the costs of the different incoming waste streams.
I'm having weekly tutorials with Nick on reading the budgets and the expenses and whatnot, and it helps a lot. It's helping me a lot. There's a couple things we need to tweak and make sure we're recording right, getting the cost in the right category, transfer versus hauling company, that type of thing. But the more we know, the better off we all are.
Okay. Any questions for LJ? All right. Looks like not. Jessica.
I have one really, really big announcement, and I like to say that as of last night at 8 p.m., we submitted a $1.8 million grant request to the EPA through the Swiffer grant for 3 main projects, and that is going to be the optimization of our HHW program, the installation of a recycling sorting line at the CRC, and this one is just for you, Kaylin, a composting facility at Moab landfill.
Yay! Let's celebrate. Good job, man. Excellent.
So we won't find out until April if we were actually awarded the grant, and I think we have a really good chance, and I just want to say thank you to literally every single person at the district who has helped me develop this. I definitely couldn't have done it alone. LJ was absolutely instrumental in getting all of the budgeting. So was Chris, and I had Mike, Chris, helping me get all the operations side of everything put together. But I believe if we get this grant, it's really going to turn our operations completely around, and we're going to be able to effectively capture a large portion of waste that we've been missing, and while also lowering our contamination rates that we've been struggling with. So that's the really big thing that I've been working on. I've been losing sleep over this grant, so I'm really, really glad that it has been submitted. But also at the same time, I've been working on the development of the household hazardous waste expansion that we're currently going to be implementing in March. I got my certification re-upped, so I've got my OSHA HAZWOPER certification good to go. We have another staff member that we've purchased the certification training for, but we just haven't scheduled out for them. And also
Ron went to that one.
Oh, and Ron, yeah, so we'll have 3 people that will be certified to run this program, hopefully within the next month or so. And then I've also been trying to find more creative ways of engaging online or electronically, and getting our programs out there. And the big one, I'm quite proud of myself, I made a QR code. So people can now sign up for our newsletter that goes out every single month.
You made that?
Mhm.
I didn't realize you.
I made the QR code.
One thing we should mention, since she brought up the household hazardous waste, we did push back the implementation of when that was gonna happen. We just had a few more I's to dot and T's to cross before we really felt comfortable going out with that. So we're pushing it into March instead of, we had originally had end of February, so.
Great, congratulations on getting the granted. Will that cover, will it just cover equipment, or can it cover technical support as well?
It is, I specifically budgeted, I mean, a large portion of it, like 1.1 million of the grant is just equipment alone. So that's water truck, trommel screen, the sorting line, attachments. But it also includes training, sampling of compost, personnel costs, and that includes the benefits as well. And also other supplies, so like PPE, safety, that sort of thing. So I tried to be as expansive as I could without doing too high of an ask. Now there is 40 million available for us to ask, or actually it's a top of 4 million, but because we're considered a low income, rural, disadvantaged community, we're immediately put into a different, like, I can't think of the word, of a bowl of cash. Pool cash. So we have a higher chance of being selected, so we'll see.
Good.
From talking to Jessica, evidently, we really do check off a lot of the boxes
Yeah, I really do.
that a portion of this is intended for. So, I mean, that would be so huge, so huge. You brought up compost testing, that would be an ongoing expense, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, so part of the point that I had to make is prove the potential sustainability of these projects. So fortunately, our green waste reclamation program, aka the mulch program, is highly successful. It sells out the cost of because I've done 3 years worth of data on this. The mulch, the sales of mulch itself cover the cost of creating the mulch. So I think by that secondary product from the mulching will cover the costs moving forward, especially if we, take in rate increases. I don't want to do rate increases, every single year, but those additional costs, I believe, will be able to cover that and make these sustainable projects moving forward, where it won't be a financial burden to the district. But that was the whole point of my main argument. It was like a lot of these programs, once we get them going and we get the community familiar with them, they will be relatively sustainable on their own. And the majority of the costs are literally just upfront equipment costs that we don't really have to do on a yearly basis, because it's for a grant period of 3 years. So. Fingers crossed.
Jessica, I'm wondering,
Good, good.
I'm wondering if you've had any conversations with USU sustainability, Rosalind McCain.
Yeah. Rosalind McCain.
McCain, she's really had interest in composting food waste. So have you had a talk with her?
I have, when I first started at the district, I was part of a group that included Roslyn about the potential implementation of a composting program. That bringing that discussion in, plus discussions that I've had with the sustainability director at the city, Alexi, we considered the implementation of a food waste composting program. However, that is a massive infrastructure change. That is adding bins, that is adding new equipment to pick it up, and permitting. We cannot have that type of waste at the Moab landfill because the landfill does not permit any sort of vector type waste, anything that would attract pest odors, nuisance, can create a biological hazard, so to speak. So there is you could essentially apply for an entire grant just for food waste composting, and I'm not familiar enough with it, and there's not really anybody that I spoke with in the community that has enough experience for the establishment of a large scale commercial food waste composting program. So that's why we felt it would be better to start with a program that we're already familiar with, that the community is already familiar with, and kind of build it up from there. And while that is being implemented, we can look at or the possibility of creating a food waste composting program. But it's to add that on to this grant would have put us above the max allowable threshold. So I just went with something that I felt was within our realm of expertise, and then moving forward, we can explore how to reduce food waste. That is just
Well, good. You've talked to Alexa then. She's on board too. What are going to be the materials that would be in the composted materials up there besides the green waste?
Well, see, the way that I reasoned it out is our green waste reclamation program, we take only clean green waste. So that is going to be like your trees, sticks, branches, things that you know will work into a mulch type product. Now with the implementation, or my main ask of this, or I called it a non-food organics composting facility. So that would allow us to bring in a higher percentage of green waste that we typically haven't been able to put through the mulching process. So that's going to be like your weeds, leaves, those sort of like smaller items that we're having to put into, or we're having to landfill. So we're essentially trying to capture a higher amount of the green waste that we are currently taking in. So I did about 3 years worth of data for the composting or the green waste reclamation program. So for that 3-year period, we're capturing currently about 28.3% over a 3-year period of the green waste. So if we can capture, just a small portion of the green waste that we're basically landfilling, I think we'd easily pull it up to a 45%, maybe even 50% reclamation of our current intake. Does that make sense? I'm still in grant speech mode, so I might be a little too technical.
Yeah. Well, I was just inquiring because hot composting requires a certain amount of carbon versus a certain amount of nitrogen. It's a ballpark sort of thing, but that's something to be considered,
Well, there have also been brief discussions with ASTA, or Old Spanish Trail Arena, about potentially utilizing the manure that would allow us to get a higher level as well and bring in that good level of greens and browns. Believe me, I'm familiar with it. I've got composting going on in my house and I have chickens, so that helps me with that. So I think if we start getting enough entities in on this, I don't think it'll be an issue to get that match.
Great. That's great. Need that manure.
Yeah.
So Jessica, that's Swatch. is becoming extremely popular. And, I think we need to do something, a very simple poster that has Moab Recycles on it with a swatch as big as you can make it. So people can come up and just, everybody uses that swatch these days. That would be, you could put that in the Moonflower, you could put that in City Market, you could put that in a lot of places, and people would swatch that and then have it with their phones. And, when you're talking about this grant, I really think that's educating people on that Moab does recycle, and that swatch is very beneficial for that. Good job on the grant. I'm very proud of you. Good job, man.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
I've already been kind of exploring ways that we can spread this, because I didn't specifically budget in for outreach and whatnot. Like I stated that these programs would be developed with an education and outreach component as part of them. However, the Swiffer grant didn't allow for asking costs. That was the Rio grant, which honestly, I just myself, I could not physically write 2 grants in the small time period that I had. So
Right.
it's going to be developed. Unfortunately, I just won't have the assistance of an EPA grant on that. But I've been doing my research on new ways to effectively reach audiences, especially in a community that has so many different niche ways to reach them.
Yes.
Some only use community
Yes.
boards, some are only word of mouth. So I'm trying to expand how I reach folks, and that's important.
Yeah, good. Good work. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, Levi.
A couple things. Our new fuel tank and system is here at the transfer station. So we went from 1,000 gallons here up to holding 2,000 gallons. So that's gonna help us out a lot with having, if a truck, we were barely making it in our busy time of having a truck every week of getting here. So that's gonna help us out there. We took the old tank, moved it out to Moab as well, so we hold more fuel out there. So that'll help us out there where we're, hopefully if their truck kicks down or a storm happens or something like that, we're not desperately running out of fuel all the time. So that's good that those are in. Trying to gear up for the season. We have fixed a bunch of our 2 yards that were broken here. We've partnered with Curtis Thames, is Kurt's Custom Welding.
Yeah.
He's done 8 of them for us so far at a cost of $3,600. Repairing those, just all of our old damaged. A lot of them had rusted out bottoms or some pretty substantial problems that we weren't going to be able to fix here in-house. So that's been good. Bids are in for some of the containers on like our 18-yard closed tops and some of those that we're needing to hopefully gear up so we're not caught without containers again like we were last year when the movie department comes in and orders them all. So those bids are in. Hopefully we're working with Mike here shortly. We can, when Chris gets back here and stuff, we can move forward and get those ordered and in. We've had a fence issue here at the transfer station for a while where it's been laying down. We went ahead and got bids for those. Went ahead and accepted a bid today for JBC Construction for $6,500 to come in and put some heavier pipe and some new heavier duty pipe and stuff to fix that fence where that wind has pushed it down, so that we'll be back in compliance there. And then the last thing I wanted to cover that we had was the D7 is here. It's been here for a little while now. We put about 70 hours on it so far working it. So it's been working really great for us. Wheeler did come out and do some training for our guys on that, was here on site, went over that. It's pretty impressive machine with some of the new stuff that push buttons and it'll grade you a flat surface versus some of the old stuff. So with that showing up, the 613 scraper, the 816, the old compactor, the old 938 from up at Moab landfill, and the old D7 dozer, all got traded in and left to Wheeler. So it's kind of nice to get rid of some of the old equipment and not have it just rusting and sitting in the weeds. So that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, great.
Who's the local welder, Curtis?
Curtis, yes.
That's working out really well because it's a slow time for him. And his turnaround has been incredible, I think. And we don't have a huge transportation cost. They're right down there. If we wanted to, we could pick them up and take them right out. We will be talking some expense at the next board meeting as far as containers. We've definitely got to get some more in here and be prepared for the busy season. So money will be going out.
Levi, what do you imagine Wheeler does with all those old pieces of iron?
So some of them they're going to, so like the 816, we had actually bought that originally. It was already had gone through Wheeler once before. They had rebuilt it and we were the second owner of it. So they will evaluate it. They may go ahead and repair it and rebuild it again and go out and maybe a third life for another landfill somewhere else. Or they may look at it and say it's not worth fixing. And a lot of times at that point, they'll sell it to a scrap yard that'll part it out and stuff like that for places. You know, like the 613 was a good working shape when we sold it. It was just older. So they'll probably sell that on a, either they'll sell it directly or they'll sell it on one of their Ritchie Brother auctions or one of those auction sites, something like that. You know, the old D7, we looked at trying to fix it and get it, and it just price wasn't there. We know that it's not worth fixing. So it's probably going to get parted out and those parts will go to other pieces of equipment and stuff. So hopefully that answers it.
Yeah,
I wondered the same thing, and yes, thank you.
Yeah, most they'll try to fix what they can, and Cat, that's one good thing about Cat is they have an a set of numbers that they know how long this piece of equipment will work for, and they'll put it into their system and they'll decide whether it's worth fixing and go through and fix it again and sell it again, or they kind of
yeah, I was gonna say another incredible recycling story right there. You know, he's gonna have 3, maybe 4 lives if he could just, if they keep repairing him and keep him running, that old baby will keep going, man.
It will. It's kind of amazing sometimes those old equipment, how, I mean, we were already the second owner, and I mean, those are kind of unique piece of equipment because there's just not that many of them. So I'm sure that one will get rebuilt and go out somewhere else to another landfill. We weren't too sad to see some of those old ones go though.
Yeah, they'd had a lot of hours, baby. Those babies were tired, man. They were tired. They didn't even move on, baby.
Okay, thank you. Board reports. Does anyone have anything to report?
Just happy to have Mike. I'll report. I'm happy to have Mike on board. LJ, good work. Staff's done a great job. Gosh, I've been in the office a little bit more, signing checks and stuff. The new office is just blending in really nice. I like the office space there, Savannah at the front. You know, we need to work a little bit on the outside steps. Maybe, of course, I went up when it was icy and almost fell on my face, but that was between the rocks. You know, I was going in between the rocks, taking the shortcut. But it's a nice space, and you know, congratulations, staff. It looks really good. Thank you.
and I wanted to ask Jessica on, she just has a newsletter coming out, but I want to submit to her some of these dates that are coming up. Is that a monthly newsletter, Jessica?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
There was a, this time around because, I thought I had already sent it out. But it turns out there was some sort of glitch that happened with the software that I use, and it didn't go out, which actually helped because I had the old, HHW date on there. So that's why it was actually a little bit delayed this year, or this month, but I try and send it out the first week of each month.
oh, okay. So I should get you something because this workshop is gonna be in March. end of March, the first workshop. So I'll send it to
Yeah.
you.
Okay, perfect. Just email it to me and I'll go ahead and send it in there because I've started drafting March's
Okay.
now.
That'd be perfect.
I have something for you to add too.
Okay, thanks all. Next up, we have review and final approval of Caterpillar financial contract for D7 dozer.
They wouldn't let us keep it without paying for it. I asked.
Thank you.
They are letting us use it
They're
now.
giving us one and they're taking 4. That should be enough.
Right, right. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to look over the contract, basically the remaining balance after we make the 4 trades, which they've already taken, and then we need to do a 200,000 deposit, and that's gonna come from the bond acquisition fund. And then we'll have 7 equal payments of 59,587.90, and then a final balloon payment of 164,800.
Okay,
I called because I wanted to verify that about the cost. Because in the contract, it's not really clear. It doesn't show, you know, the actual cost of the dozer. So it was in the quote where it is actually, what was that?
yeah, it was in the packet.
Yeah. 765,000 is the original. There it is.
Third page.
So if anyone has any questions, otherwise, I'd also entertain a motion.
I really can't see the figures and stuff, so I really feel hampered to make that motion, but someone who has the numbers and can read that off could make that motion.
Yes, and there is, in the full packet, there is the recommended motion. Diane?
I don't have it either.
Okay,
Is Mary not here today?
no, so I will, I'm on the board, so I move to approve and accept the contract with Caterpillar Financial to purchase the 2022 D7 dozer and the remaining balance amount of $446,000. Is there a second?
I can barely hear you. For some reason, Kaylin, that was a totally different coming across than anything so far. So I don't know if it's because your head was down and you were looking into your computer, but
Oh, yes,
Yeah, we lost the vocal.
okay,
We kind of lost the vocal from you guys.
yes, we understand that. Can you hear me now?
Now it's, yes, now it's better. Now it's better.
I'm going to restate the motion facing up. I move to approve and accept the contract with Caterpillar Financial to purchase the 2022 D7 dozer in the remaining balance amount of $446,000.
I'll second that.
A motion by Kalen, second by Kevin. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Kalen, yes. Diane,
yes,
Kevin,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Okay, he can.
yes. Motion passes 4-0.
Good job.
Discussion on possible use of PTIF equipment funds for replacement of skid steer tracks. Who's taking the lead on this?
Leave that,
You want to start and then I'll. finish?
Yeah, so our skid steer tracks have been going out on us for a while now. They started to first noted in about September is when they were noted that they were going bad. And it's just due to the age of them and sitting out in the sun and rubber and Moab sun and sitting out there don't all mix.
The
So
grease, I think, a lot of the grease.
yeah, the grease and just running it and stuff. And so they're about a 17 or 15-inch wide track, and they're down to about 4 inches before it cracks and breaks all the way through.
Ooh.
And so before we have it catastrophically fail in the grease pit and we got to go dig it out of there, we were hoping to replace these. And so we've had the bid for a while on them to get them approved. And Chris and LJ and stuff wanted to kind of push it off until the first of the year and hopefully limp it along. And we're at the point where we need tracks or we need to park the machine. So that's why we're asking for tracks now. So.
And it's not a huge amount, and normally, you know, this is something that we wouldn't necessarily mention to the board, but because I do want to use PTIF funds from our equipment designated funds in the PTIF, because we are in the slower season, so we're not seeing the usual income that we would see at the rest of the year. So that's why I wanted to make it known at the meeting.
Okay. How much are they, out of curiosity?
So I don't have a final bid. I had the bid when they were originally done and they were like $3,600. Then they have gone up since then because everything else in the world decided to do it. They told me that they went up about 4 to 5%. I'm still waiting to hear exactly what that number will be. So it should be right. You know, it's not a huge amount, but it is an amount. So.
Okay, well, thank you for keeping us in the loop. Any questions from the board?
I don't think we have to motion it, do we? That's not a motion we need to do. Is it?
No.
Good.
All right.
My mechanic will
Get it
be
done.
my mechanic will be very happy to not have to go replace tracks in a grease pit. So, or in the middle of
Yeah,
so,
the middle of a bad packing job someplace, you know, that's right.
either way, it won't be a fun job, but it'll be a lot less.
That's right.
bad.
Get her done, baby, get her done.
All right. Next up is discussion on requisition number 14 for fence repair.
So Levi already talked about the repairs that we need to do on the fence. And we will be doing a requisition out of the bond fund for this, since it is part of our acquisition area. It's just really to make people aware that this is going to be in the future.
Take a nap.
Signed and all of that.
Okay.
And that is something that is in our it's not in permit. What is it? It's
It is in our,
Yeah. it's
I
part of the
would
permit.
Yeah.
it is part of a permit. Sorry, yeah,
to
correct.
be in compliance with our
Compliance, there's
permits.
the word, there you go.
Okay.
So it's another thing. In a perfect world, we would have taken care of long before now.
Any questions? Seeing none. Discussion on requisition number 15 to reimburse operations account for money spent on furniture, fixtures, improvements, and software.
so again, I mentioned that earlier. So the 3,500 to AMCS, and then I think there's like one other previous invoice that we paid for out of the operations account, as well as all the chairs at the table, a few other items for the new building still that are trickling in, just to kind of, yeah. And then also the bumpers for the parking spaces, things like that. Once we get those all compiled, we'll be doing, again, another one of those reimbursement requisitions to put money back into our operations account.
Okay, great. Questions from the board? Okay. Future considerations are draft budget for facilities and acquisition fund, and our next regularly scheduled meeting is set for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. We've reached the end of our agenda items. And so if there's no objections, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Turned at
Good
5
job, you guys, good job. Thank you all, thank you all. Sounds good, good meeting.
Thanks for joining us from the road.
Thank you, guys, excellent. It was great skiing at Powderhorn today, guys, amazing powder, baby. Thank you.
Yes.